Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Happy Monday to all of you. I hope you had a great weekend. And thank you to all of you that joined in on yesterday's live stream. It was fun, just as it always is. So thank you for being there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today as everyone is concentrating on things that the mainstream media wants them to concentrate on, and I won't name any specific things, there are things going on that we do need to take a look at. Now, I went ahead and pulled a few articles here that are of interest and that are leading indicators, as I like to call them. What I mean by leading indicators, for those of you that have never heard me use that term, is things that are happening now that will affect our future. All right, so they may not be affecting us in the now, but later on in the year, or maybe even onto next year, it may be affecting us. So it's things that we want to know right now so that we can better prepare for it for when it actually does affect us. And the first one here is something we've been talking about for a while now. Satellite image reveals agriculture wasteland across California's rice capital. And what this article is talking about here is that in California, out of the 550,000 acres that they normally use to plant rice, this year 300 acres will go unused. Meaning that they either planted the rice and the rice is not going to grow because of the drought, or they're just not planting at all or not harvesting at all because there's nothing growing, or at least not enough of it that is worth their time to go out there and harvest whatever there may be. Here it says a report via the U.S. Department of Agriculture shows about 300,000 out of 550,000 acres committed to rice growing in California will go without harvest. What do you think that's going to mean to the price of rice, ladies and gentlemen? Now, a lot of people may not eat rice. They're like, rice is not good for you. You know, I don't like rice for whatever reason. However, you have to understand that California produces a lot of the rice that stays here in the United States. And also, rice is what's used for sustenance for half of the world's population. So, for example, let's say that rice gets too expensive for some people. What are they going to do? They're going to shift to something else. And that something else may be something that you rely on. So it may increase the price of that as well. So only because it's rice and you don't mainly eat rice, it's going to end up increasing the price of other commodities that maybe you yourself consume. So this is how it can affect you even if you don't eat rice. It goes on to say, UC Davis agriculture economists warned the collapse in rice production in the state will translate to an estimated $500 million loss for farmers, about 40% of which will be covered by federal crop insurance. What do I have to say about that? Just like the Ice Age farmer says, you can print money, but you can't print food. So all the money in the world that the farmers get who had a bad crop or had to file for crop insurance is not going to produce that food. It may keep the farmer above water. It may keep their head above water for another year, but it's not going to get that food to the market because it's just not there. Message: prepare, ladies and gentlemen. Stop listening to all of these distractions that are going on right now in the media. Stop listening to all that stuff and actually do a little bit of research. I never read these articles in full unless it's like a really, really important, super important thing that's happening in the right now that we need to take action on now. I never read them in full in hopes that if you find interest in them, that you will revisit them and go ahead and take a look at them for yourself and do a little bit of your own research. And that's why I always provide a link and a pinned comment to all of these articles or all of these sites that I visit while I'm talking to you here this morning. And again, another leading indicator, ladies and gentlemen, only because it's not happening where you live doesn't mean that it's not going to affect you. The UN food officials warn fertilizer shortages could lead to famine. It's kind of funny how the same organization that is trying to keep countries that are very productive in growing food from growing food are warning us that a famine can be coming. Isn't that something, ladies and gentlemen? It's just one more reason why you have to get prepared. Get everything that you're going to need. Not only food, but food and water mainly. But everything that you need on an everyday basis. Put it up now while you can still get it. And shifting over to something different here, Americans spent more on taxes in 2021 than on food, clothing, and healthcare combined. This, in my opinion, is an atrocity, ladies and gentlemen. I will leave the link for this so you can revisit it. I actually caught a snippet of this watching Patriot Nurse yesterday, where she was talking about this and talking about the repercussions that this has on our freedoms and the difference between what we pay in taxes today and what we went to war for during the Revolutionary War, what we were paying back then. And if you compare what we were paying back then to what we're paying now, it is incredible how many multiples it is. However, we still pay for it. All right, here it says, during 2021, according to Table R1 in the BLS, which is the Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Expenditure Survey, American consumer units. Look at this, American consumer units. All right, we are consumer units. All right, spent an average of $15,495 on food, clothing, and healthcare combined. Now listen to this. While paying on average $16,729 in total taxes to federal, state, and local governments. And that doesn't even cover the taxes that you pay that you don't know you're paying. For example, inflation is a tax. When the government inflates the money supply, that is a hidden tax on your purchasing power, meaning that it takes you more hours to work to buy the same thing. That is a hidden tax that no one ever calls a tax unless they are in the know. Another example of a tax that you don't know that you're paying when you buy something is regulations. If the government puts 15 regulations on how you have to make a pillow and puts hundreds of regulations on how you have to report your taxes and your income to the government because you have a business, all of these things cost money. All right, businesses have to pay CPAs, accountants, and all of these professionals that went to school to learn to navigate the tax laws and the tax system in order so that you don't end up in jail as a business owner. That is a tax on you. That money that they are spending in order to comply with all of the regulations and rules that the government has put upon us, that money is passed down to the consumer. But what I got from this article here, which states what's the average salary in the United States, currently there are 117.5 million full-time workers in the United States. Now ask yourself about that unemployment number, 3.7 I believe it is. Does that sound about right? 117 million full-time workers. I think that our unemployment number is a little higher than 3.7, but I digress. Some of these people are compensated with an annual salary, while others work for hourly wages. While there is a significant variation in pay relative to job type, education level, and social and economic factors, the average weekly earnings for a person working in the United States is around $1,000 a week, which is $53,924 a year if the person works all 52 weeks. Now, I want to go ahead and show you how this is broken up, because not everyone, when I say the average, or they say here the average salary, it doesn't mean that everyone across the board is earning an average salary. So you have to understand that these tax implications hurt the poor and hurt the middle class a lot more than what they hurt those people that are earning high incomes. So, for example, the national average salary for someone that works in retail is $29,000. If you're a carpenter, it's $48,000. If you're a high school teacher, it's $61,000. If you're a mechanical engineer, $95,000, etc., all the way up to a physician, which makes roughly $200,000. Well, we all know that there's a lot less physicians, software architects, mechanical engineers in the workforce than there are retail associates. Meaning retail associates may be someone that works in the service industry, serving you your coffee, serving you your drinks, serving you your meals. There's a lot more of those in our economy than there are those that are paying a higher income. So the burden of these taxes are a lot higher on those that earn a lower income. And even though at the end of the year they may not technically pay taxes into the system because of their low income, think about all of those hidden taxes that I just talked about. The United States of America is turning into a third world nation, and it is all by design, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't prepare now, not only with food, not only with water, medicine, self-defense, but if you don't protect now against inflation and in a way that you can preserve whatever purchasing power or whatever wealth you may have in the now, eventually it will all be gone in what I like to call the inferno of inflation. The United States government is no longer for we, the people. The United States government is for them, themselves, in order to keep control over we, the people, for the exact same reasons that I just spoke about. Here, where is military aid to Ukraine coming from? Well, as you can see right here, most of it is coming from the United States. Why is that? I remember stating a long time ago, this was months and months ago when this thing in Ukraine first started with Ukraine and Russia. I said that what the president of Russia did was it gave the Federal Reserve a big gift, because now it allows our government to have an excuse to print and print and print. And in order for this economic system, financial system, whatever you want to call it, to stay alive, they have to continue to print debt into existence. When they stop printing debt, the markets and the economy starts going down. Look at what just started happening here not too long ago once the Federal Reserve started raising interest rates and started selling off assets off their balance sheet. What's happening? Our economy is going down. The market is going down. We've entered into a recession that they no longer say is a recession because they changed the definition. But that's my opinion, YouTube. Okay? So they have to continue to print in order for the system to stay alive. And the system that they use to govern us monetarily is that same system that allows them to stay in power. Think about this. I'm not making this stuff up. Do your own research. The dollar has to continue to be printed. There is a deficit of dollars in the system. There is a need for dollars in the system, because once dollars stop getting pumped into the system, oh, just a second, there was a little fly there. I got it. Once, oh, maybe not. Here you go. I got it that time. Once the dollars stop getting pumped into the system and created, ladies and gentlemen, the system will start going down until it finally crashes. That is what happens when you raise interest rates and stop printing money. The system starts going into cardiac arrest. And if you go ahead and take a look at this article right here, it explains it very well. The U.S. is creating a shortage of dollars, just as Russia is creating a shortage of oil and gas and grain. And what's happening with the U.S. creating a shortage of dollar? Our economy is going down. Our financial system is starting to crack. And what is happening with Russia creating the shortage in grain and food pretty much and gas? The economies around the world that rely on Russia for food and for gas are starting to crack, and that is going to spread like a contagion across the globe, at least across the Western nations, because the Western nations are pretty much globalized, unlike some other nations that are trying to get away from the use of the dollar, obviously because it's been weaponized. So the dollar, if you want to look at it a different way, is a huge Ponzi scheme. If you don't have new dollars being printed into creation, then you're not going to have dollars to be able to pay out, right? And what keeps these clowns in power up at Capitol Hill and other governments? It's the fiat currency that they use in their country, mainly the Federal Reserve note. And I've mentioned this, and other channels have mentioned this as well, that Europe is facing energy disaster and it's going to bleed over into the United States. Mainly the part that says it's going to bleed over into the United States. We all know that Europe is facing an energy disaster, and I believe that a lot of people this winter in the European countries are not going to make it. A lot of them are either going to starve or freeze, and the government is not going to be there for them. This winter will be a winter of awakening. A lot of people, not only in Europe, but a lot of people around the world that support what's going on right now, they're going to wake up to the fact that, hey, where was the government when these 50,000 people lost their lives because they didn't have enough heat? Where was the government then? Well, why would the government be there, ladies and gentlemen, when the government is what caused the problems that we're going to have here this winter? And trust me, this winter is going to be a very difficult winter for many people, so I hope that you are preparing. And to finish it off, ladies and gentlemen, in the richest country in the world, supposedly, right? Maybe on paper we're rich, but really we are so leveraged that we are probably one of the poorest countries in the world, i.e. the United States of America. All of the wealth that we have is really on paper. That's the wealth that we have, is on paper, because we own or we control the Federal Reserve note, the reserve currency of the world. Well, now look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Avoiding the tap water in Jackson, Mississippi has been a way of life for decades. Why in the world would that happen in a country that is as rich, supposedly, as the United States of America? Ladies and gentlemen, the reason is because government cares not about us. They can say it all they want, but they don't care about us. When you have $25 billion going to another country so that they can fight a war, in where wars are destructive, wars don't create wealth. Wars destroy, right? They destroy things, so they don't create wealth. When they're sending monies to all of these other countries, and that's not the only one, there's many other that they just send money to, that they send weaponry to, that they pretty much gift it, to them. Here in the United States of America, people can't even drink the water that comes out of their tap. I'm going to remind you all again, get a water filter. Make it part of your everyday life. I prefer a reverse osmosis water filter because it's one and done. Every once in a while, you change the filters and that's it. And it gives you pretty much as close to pure water as you can get without distilling the water. So I'm going to go ahead and end it at that today. A lot of articles. I try to keep it a little bit shorter today. That way you can consume this a little bit better. So I hope that you go back, do some research, think for yourselves. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and continue to prepare, because no one is coming to your rescue. If you don't know this by now, then nobody's coming to your rescue. You're going to be in dire straits because no one's coming to your rescue. Having said that, have a great day, okay? Have a great week ahead. I hope that you're productive this week. I hope that you stay safe. Make sure to spend time with your families and love on them, because, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on here is that the United States is being destroyed from within. So we have to be strong. That way, when evil finally loses, because evil will lose in the end, we can be strong and be able to start anew. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper. I am out.